Instead of scripture today, Sean asked me to read something a little different. It's called Footprints in the Sand. One night I dreamed I was walking along the beach with the Lord. Many scenes of my life flashed across the sky. In each scene, I noticed footprints in the sand. Sometimes there are two sets of footprints. Other times there are just sets of one. This bothered me because I noticed that during the low periods of my life, when I was suffering from anguish, sorrow, or defeat, I could only see one set of footprints. So I said to the Lord, "You promised me, Lord, that if I followed you, you would walk with me always." But I noticed that during the most trying periods of my life, there have only been one set of prints in the sand. Why, when I needed you most, you have not been there for me? The Lord replied, "The times when you have seen only seen one set of footprints is when I carried you."
Good morning, everyone. This morning it's my honor to introduce Sean Black as today's speaker. And for those of you who were at my chapel on Friday, this introduction may be a little bit familiar. But Sean and I met while we were pledging freshman year, and it wasn't until sophomore year that we became really good friends. Sean has always been someone who has been supportive of me, and I think that whether it would be with a paper or a problem with history or some other dilemma, Sean has always been someone I could go to and someone whose opinion I truly respected. Sean has always been very supportive in my faith journey as well. He's constantly encouraging me to go to FCA in the chapel and Vespers. Sean has not only been someone to study or play video games with, but more importantly, he has been someone who has helped me in my relationship with God. Now that we are roommates, Sean has continued to be one of my best friends, and despite him liking the Browns, I'm honored to be one of his friends. So without any further ado, Sean Black.
Good morning. I just wanted to say thanks to everyone, to my teammates, to my brothers, friends, faculty. I've come to these senior chapels for the last 2 years now, and it's weird to think that it's my time to be up here, and it's still a surreal thing to me. But special thanks to Kep for reading that poem. I don't know who introduced it to me or where I found it, but it's just one that I've always tried to remember. Just through rough times or on the tennis court or wherever, I feel like it really goes along with the verse, and I can do anything through God who strengthens me. And Schroeder, thanks for the introduction. I grew up in Ohio after moving there from Pennsylvania in 3rd grade, and I have a great family that supports me. In high school, I played 2 to 3 sports each year, and my parents were almost at every event. I also have a brother, some of you may know that. He's 2 years younger. He's now at Seton Hill. He runs on cross-country and track teams, and he and I have had the same interest, and he's always been there for me. During basketball season, my sophomore year in high school, I was hit with one of the biggest shocks of my life. I was at a friend's house. I was actually playing tennis, and we had walked there, and my mom was supposed to pick me up. And when I walked out into the driveway, my dad was waiting in the car for me, which was strange because he was supposed to have flown out to somewhere else for work for the week. And when he was there, I was just surprised. But I was like, "What are you doing here?" And that's when I found out my mom had been diagnosed with cancer. And looking back at it now, that's when God was carrying me through life. It was a time that I couldn't believe. I was in denial. I knew it was happening, but I couldn't grasp it. The first person when I told them, I laughed afterwards, and they looked at me like I was crazy. But it was just because I couldn't believe it was happening to me and my family. But like I said, luckily I was in basketball season, and I had plenty of teammates to support me. Took my mind off things, just playing basketball and having them there. They gave me rides home and stuff like that. And even my assistant soccer coach out of season, whose quote during indoor soccer conditioning was that he wanted to see us run till we threw up. He sent from the hotel he worked at a full meal from appetizer to dessert and just took care of our family. And it was just people like that and seeing like the grace of God support us was amazing. Another example was my junior year now. It was after a JV soccer game, and my mom was standing along the fence, and my coach called her over. the varsity coach between the JV and varsity game. And he began to talk to her, and it wasn't just like a 2-minute conversation. The game had started, the varsity game had started, and he was still talking to her and just seeing how she was doing and everything. And she was like, "Don't you have a game to coach?" And it was then that he went back and coached. But it was just people like that, and just seeing the effect that they have on me and their support, that was amazing. Around the same time, a friend of mine in high school told me that he was going to a youth group retreat from my church, and I decided to give it a shot. It was the first time I'd ever been involved in my faith outside of going to Mass with my family. I really enjoyed the retreat. Many of my friends were there, and I continued to participate in my youth group throughout high school and even into my college years. And then I had to begin looking for college. And after touring Mount Union, which is in Ohio, I thought I'd be going there. I loved it there. And I knew I wanted to stay close to home, close enough that I could be home if I needed to be, but like far enough that I wouldn't be home every weekend. And my parents wanted me to check out Slippery Rock. They were both products of the Pennsylvania State Schools, and I went toward it, and I wasn't a huge fan. But I had applied to Westminster because the application fee had been waived, and it was a short application process. And they asked if I wanted to go check it out, and I'd said no, I wanted to get home. But they talked me into it, and despite not having an appointment, and the admissions gave us a tour, I just felt very at home, and I knew this is where I wanted to go. And in addition, after I'd made that choice, Scooter had given me the opportunity to play tennis, which allowed me to get a summer job and improve in tennis, and just that really helped me grow as well. So many events at Westminster and groups I'm part of have affected me in a positive way, just like each and every one of you in the audience has as well. When I was on the campus tour, I thought it was just a recruiting tool. Everyone's saying that it felt like family, but in the past 4 years, I realized it has. As Schroeder mentioned, we pledged together at Alpha Sigs, and I didn't know it at the time, but it supports the Relay for Life, which has a personal connection for me. And I mean, I just felt like, looking back at it, God's been carrying me there as well. More recently, as I mentioned, my brother's a runner at Seton Hill, and he was highly recruited out of high school and was very successful his freshman year there. But during the winter, a freak accident where a friend opened his door into my brother's head, gave him a concussion, and since then he's suffered multiple concussions, the most recent being on a trip to Notre Dame. He was asleep on the bus and had his head against the window, and the bus hit a bump, and his head hit the window hard enough for him to be reconcussed, and he wasn't even able to run there. He's had concussions since, wasn't able to run in their conference tournament, which he had won last year, and I know how much it means to him to run, and I just hope God carries him through like he's carried me through the tough times in my life. Now that my time at Westminster is almost over, I have 2 more weeks of classes and finals before I start student teaching. I've had to start thinking about where I'll be and what I'll be doing next year. At this point, I don't know what I'm going to be doing. Grad school, possibly teaching and coaching are all possibilities, but there's also the uncertainty in none of the above. I look back at the key events of my life, especially the choice of Westminster College and the groups I've been a part of, the teammates that I have, got present and past, brothers present and past, and all my friends. And I know that I'm going to be faced with hard choices and uncertainty next year, but if I believe in God and walk alongside Him and allow Him to carry me when I stumble, I'm sure everything will work out just fine. Just want to thank everyone for coming out today and wish everyone a happy Thanksgiving. Thanks.